Can the pen be mightier than the sword, or in this case, an assault weapon? Editorial writers of the Boston Globe hope so. Today's front page was an editorial titled, "Make It Stop." Just below the fold, the damage a bullet causes when entering the body. On the back page, it showed a rendering of what an exit wound would look like. It's larger because the bullets from an automatic weapon are designed to wobble in the body, maximizing the wound.
Page one of this morning's Boston Globe demands make it stop.
The papers you see is getting national attention, featured on a morning network show. After a week of coverage from Orlando, attitudes on assault weapons might finally be changing. CBS poll found 57% of Americans now support an assault weapons ban. It's up from 44% just in December. But while a Democratic filibuster may have gotten Republican leaders in the Senate to allow a vote on a couple of reforms, leaders in the other chambers seem unmoved. This is what House Speaker Paul Ryan said earlier today.
Is going after the Second Amendment how you stop terrorism? No, that's not how you stop terrorism. We have a bill that's being voted on right now to go after homegrown jihadists. Let's not take our eye off the ball.
Got that? Don't take your eye off the ball. Joining me are Boston Globe photojournalist Dina Rudick. Dina, it's good to see you. Jonathan Kaufman is director of Northeastern School of Journalism program. Good to see you, too. I'm not going to put you on the spot about the Globe, so I'll work with him for a second. This Globe wraparound thing and this, I think, terrific interactive feature you went on the website, does this have an impact?
I think it does, and I think what you see is that the Globe is trying to become part of the conversation. They did the Trump parody front page, which got a lot of attention. They're doing things like this. There's so much news out there. There's such a cacophony of back and forth. This is the Globe's way of saying you've never seen something like this before. We're in your face. We're in your face online, on your cell phone. I think if they want to get their point of view across, this is how you have to do it.
And it's really part of the interactive thing. It actually names 6 senators who are blocking this thing with the amount of money they're getting from the NRA, an email you click and you can send them direct. So it's really an activist kind of thing, not just an editorial.
In a way, I think editorial pages for the longest time were sort of, very serious, very somber, very thoughtful. This one is like, no, we're going to mix it up. This is what we think. This is how you can change things, and they're pushing.
Okay, you're not excluded from the conversation anymore. So a lot of things since yesterday. Trump says that club goers should be armed when they're there. Obviously drunk, they should be shooting weapons or something. A Senate filibuster I mentioned. I want to ask you about going one step further, particularly what you do for a living. Why should the public not see photos of what really happened in places like Sandy Hook with 26 and 7-year-olds, or in Lando in the Pulse Club? I know it's a big issue with people who do what you do for a living. Why shouldn't we see what is essentially the consequence of laws enacted in our name? Should we?
Well, I think we shouldn't not see them.
How's that mean?
It means that normally in the U.S. media especially, we're really queasy about putting dead bodies, blood and gore, graphic things out in print and online. And I think that for things of utmost social significance, such as Orlando, Newtown, Aurora, I think we need to think about the bigger picture and perhaps be open to showing.
What is the bigger picture?
The bigger picture is that this is not just gun violence. This is not somebody getting shot. This is the end result of policy decisions that we've allowed to happen. It's the result of people having access to guns. It's the result of different social forces of discrimination, of terrorism. So I feel like these major acts of mass shooting, these sorts of violence, these speak to a bigger issue. It's
Susan Sontag, I'm sure, on photography said, concern photography, which is what she called this kind of thing, does as much to deaden conscience as to arouse it. You don't agree with her?
Concern photography?
She calls concern, meaning socially active photography is what she means. Things like you're talking about. You don't agree with her?
No. Can I give an example?
Yeah, sure.
So I have a 3-year-old little boy, so speaking about this is not flip for me. But think about the 2 dead toddlers that we've had in our consciousness recently. This week, a young boy was drowned by an alligator. Horrible. Earlier last year, Aylan, the Syrian boy, washed up on shore, also drowned. We've got 2 drowned toddlers.
Face down.
And exactly. We don't need to see the picture of the child drowned by the alligator. it's not socially significant. It is hugely important to the parents, but we do need to see the one of the toddler, the refugee, because it speaks to the bigger issue.
Understood.
So I don't know if I agree with Sontag on that.
Where are you on this thing? It's
You know,
a big issue in
I think we're
journalism.
living in a really different world. The fact is, you can have access to the most gruesome photographs now on your cell phone, right? It's not like there's a gatekeeper doing it. And I think one of the challenges for journalists is to say, what are the standards that we as journalists can use in situations like this to show the right powerful picture?
What are the standards?
You know, I think social significance is part of it. I also think there are certain pictures that would show things we normally wouldn't show, death, dismemberment, things like that, if there is a point to it. I mean, journalists make these judgments all the time. Who do we interview? Who do we quote? Do we intrude in people's lives?
But it seems to be totally arbitrary. I mean, everyone has seen Lee Harvey Oswald be executed 1,000 times, Ronald Reagan be shot, the two Kennedys shot, that television reporter in Virginia, we saw her shot. Those are okay, and no one seems to object. But when something else is shown, people are all up in arms. It seems to me totally without standards.
Well, I think actually the boy who washed up, the refugee boy, I think is a perfect example. The same way that iconic picture of Ted Landsmark being stabbed with the American flag was.
Pulitzer Prize-winning photo.
The power of photography is it makes you stop and look at one image, not get a whole stream of them, not get a video. And the one powerful image that sticks in your mind.
I do want to add, for instance, let's say we went ahead and published graphic pictures of the victims of the Orlando massacre. I don't think we should just find pictures and then put them out there. I think what is the right way to do it is to get the pictures and get the families sign off.
Yeah, of course.
Because most people are going to refuse. Most people are going to say, I do not want that picture out. But some people might say yes. And all we need are a few powerful pictures of the truth to really change the conversation.
What if they all said no? And by the way, I'm totally sensitive to the notion. But at the same time, while their loved ones were killed, they were killed in our country.
Look,
under
if they all say
laws.
no, then we have to really weigh it. You know, I think that it really comes down to social significance and what is the greatest good.
You know what's amazing to me about this? Andrea Cabral, former prosecutor, former Secretary of Public Safety, is on the radio today. We asked her what she thought about this, and she said, I used to try murder cases and rape cases. When I'm talking about the crime, it's sort of like an intellectual connection with the jury. And all of a sudden, as soon as they saw the photo, whether it's in a Tsarnaev trial or something else, everything changes. So there's no question, despite Susan Sontag, the impact this kind of thing has. We don't know where it's going to lead people, but it has potential to totally change the debate, no?
I think that we are retreating behind thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers all the time, and we are numbed out. And then we jump to Second Amendment patriotism, love of country, and I feel like we're really skipping the nitty-gritty of it here.
I agree with you, but I think we want sanitized news, don't you think?
Well, but I think the role of the news in a situation like this, whether you're the Globe writing editorial or you're a journalist trying to bring it home to people, is to find the striking image, to go against the deadening. In other words, you need to cut through the noise, you need to cut through people's kind of being shut down and say, no, you need to look at this photo because this could change the way you look at the world.
It's not about being sensational, it's about changing the conversation.
I agree. Dina, it's good to see you. 3 people in agreement. That's a rarity. Jonathan, good to see you. Appreciate it.